Fucking iconic. The first thing to come to mind when thinking about the Record of Lodoss War. Mwah! I love this, so scrumptious. Pure 90s nostalgia, but with teeth to back it up. And what more could you ask for? It's got the guts, the glory, and all the hot 90s animation you could ask for. Oh, you want a decent dub? Lodoss War has it. I'm not gonna play around. I love this anime. It's charming in all the right ways. As a massive fan of JRPGs, this one always hit me in the McFeelies. It's like an entire game you can just watch. And even if you haven't seen the series, these little babies should stand out to you above all else. That's right, the anime elfu. Like with most things, the Japanese saw elf ears and were like, let's make them big to the point of absurdity, and proceeded to create a beloved iconoclast. Tyler, hit him with the anime elves. Whoop-bam! Record of Lodoss War is a Western-style high fantasy that arguably defined the genre in Japanese media. As an anime, it is split into 13 24-minute OVAs or original video adaptations. In these 13 short segments, the series accomplishes more than most 100+ episode serials out there. Its intricate plot and beautiful art design inspired creators for decades to come, from manga to video games and beyond. Its questions about life and purpose still ring true to this day and continue to resonate with fans across generations. Lodoss War is special. Not perfect, but amongst many things, it's a gorgeous time capsule from 1990. Let's turn back the clocks and get into it. Most of you are aware by now that I am a massive Star Wars fan, but if you are new, I'd like to let you know I enjoy the wars. When I was a kid, I used to steal books from my dad. He was a big fantasy nerd in the 80s, and amongst his Star Wars books, he had a ton of high fantasy classics from authors like R.A. Salvatore and the like. And unlike sci-fi pulp, fantasy has this party system that somehow flows seamlessly between games like Grandia or Dragon Quest and stories like Lord of the Rings. This is apparent immediately in the Record of Lodoss War, with the cliché group comprised of knight, priest, mage, dwarf, high elf, and thief. However, this cliché is juxtaposed by the incredibly intricate and thought-out way these characters were designed. It's exceedingly rare to find an anime where you can tell which character is which just by the shape of their nose. But the extraneous details in the way these characters dress brings out individual personality without words. I find it so interesting how Madhouse was able to contrast relatively simple animation with incredible art to bring to life a visual experience that can literally speak for itself. The close-ups are truly staggering and the important moments hit so well. There's a sense of momentum to the animation when it's needed and a minimalist approach when it's not, and you can actually see where the budget was divvied out while never losing immersion. The emotion portrayed in the intricate close-up shots is literally palpable, and most exceptionally so with Deedlit the High Elf. First off, there's something enrapturing about her presence. She's beautiful in a way that's more elegant than your typical anime girl. And don't worry, I'm sure she's like 8,000 years old, like high elves, they live forever, you know? But anyway, the care that was put into her design and the way that she moves truly captures the heart. In fact, all of these characters are lovable almost instantaneously, but not in the, oh, I need him to win all the time kind of way. Just in the aspect that you can enjoy watching them regardless of what they're doing. I mean, all except the priest Eto, he literally does nothing until the second to last episode, so we're just gonna forget about him like the show does. And I would even go so far as to say the main character is kind of an unlikable idiot, but still lovable all the same. Lodoss War is an anime first and foremost about characters, second about continuous conflict in the land of Lodoss, a massive earth separated from a larger continent in ancient times in the aftermath of a war between goddesses. Lodoss itself is now said to be cursed. We follow Parn, the son of a dishonored and super dead knight, as he inserts himself into the larger picture of Lodoss. He also has this knack for just smashing his face into magic barriers pointlessly. Like, this happens at least once every episode, to the point where by chapter 10, I was actually laughing my ass off every time it happened. Honestly, as a character, he's kind of an idiot savant, and as time passes, he grows, but it takes a long time and a lot of him getting his ass kicked, despite him being the impromptu party leader. Literally everyone he travels with is smarter, cooler, and more capable than him. Yet his determination seems to have a gravitas to it that just pulls people towards him, elves and kings alike. All Parn wants to be is a contender, which is excellently portrayed while at a ball hosted by King Fawn. The mercenary King Cashaway is in attendance, and Parn is like super homoerotically infatuated with him, straight up stalker boy staring at him while Deedla is just pining for his attention, dressed to the nines. The kid doesn't even see her until she has to literally scream in his face. But whether it's Gim, the fatherly dwarf, or even Cashaway himself, anytime Parn is put to the test, he gets a beatdown and a hearty, "You're a sloppy noob." Thankfully, his companions are there to back him up, because in the end, Parn is just the vassal for the viewer. He always reminded me of a vanilla Dragon Quest protagonist, but it turns out that's exactly what he is. Believe it or not, I do research from time to time, and while diving into the history of Lodoss War, I found some interesting factoids. The Record of Lodoss War started as a Dungeons & Dragons replay, basically a simple transcript of a D&D campaign that was serialized like a manga in a Japanese computer magazine called Comtique, or Comtiku. These replays were so popular that Lodoss War's dungeon master Ryo Mizuno adapted them into novels in 1988, making them some of the first high fantasy novels to be written in Japanese. That's wild. Naturally, an anime adaptation was in order, so the OVAs were produced and released in 1990. So not only is the cliché party cliché for a reason, but it's literally a gaming party, be it D&D or a computerized RPG. Apparently, Lodoss War is still a D&D mod that's used today, and our patron Cole would like me to let you know that there is a pretty sick Dreamcast game for Lodoss War as well. Join Patreon, send me facts, I love it. I also love how in the latter section of the series, they literally call their mission a Dragon Quest. One of the things the Record of Lodoss War does best, something that really sets it apart from a standard anime, is its use of characters. Each and every one has their place, and they're moved around like chess pieces to be where they need to be, when they need to be there to move the plot forward while also keeping you guessing. It's impossible from the outset to predict the path of the story, which is extremely refreshing, especially since I watched so much shonen last month. It's like one episode you think you have the true nemesis figured out, only to find that a worse one has been hiding in the shadows biding their time, or that the motivations of the one you pegged as the big bad may not be so evil after all. It's very D&D in that fashion, and its scale is enormous considering its minuscule run. There's a lot going on in Lodoss.
You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
Thank you, Ferris. Without getting into the nitty-gritty of the plot, Lodoss has a lot to say about fate, a concept that humankind has struggled with since we crawled out of the gene pool and said, "What's that?" Lodoss seems to have forgive me, Souls-like cyclical history, a repetition of destruction doomed to forever circle the drain. A conflict started by the goddesses of good and evil, a perpetual struggle that always comes out null. We continually see the forces of light and dark literally clash, change vessels, and clash again. There's an acute sense of inevitability and futility by the end, masked by a semi-stereotypical victory. The allusion I made to characters being chess pieces earlier is more literal when the scope of Lodoss is zoomed out. There are big hands at play within the world that seem to move things to their whim, opposing forces with no qualms about bending lives to their will. There's an amazing sequence where King Fawn and this Ganondorf-looking motherfucker are battling. Grizzled old men in their fighting prime, decades of muscle buildup and experience clash over the ideals of conquest and union. In the heat of it, the question, what's the difference, is posed, which leads into another idea that permeates the atmosphere of the Lodoss War: equality, or better yet, contrasting equivalency and balance. If you take it back to science mathematics, -10 has the same value of 10 regardless of them being exact opposites. Whether added or subtracted, the two leave you with 0. Perfect cancellation. This is the idea of the greater powers behind this never-ending conflict in the cursed land of Lodoss. Good and evil will never triumph over the other, just inevitably cancel each other out and keep the world spinning in equilibrium. However, what this does is it negates the weight of human life, the importance of the individual. In the end, what we are is an accumulated record of unique experience. A human life is something that can never be replaced. The trillions of moment-to-moment firing synapses that make your journey completely unique can never be replicated. But the idea of fate takes all of that and turns you into a puppet. It's not anything I ever got on with. The idea of God's plan, be it whatever God you want, the universe or otherwise. Chaos always seemed more peaceful than a set path. In chaos, you can find yourself. But if we're all running toward a set edge like lemmings, could we not be replaced easily by another? What's the point of existing at all in that case? Some people like the rubber band theory, that fate exists, but you have a modicum of free will to deviate from it. However, the farther you deviate, the tighter the rubber band stretches, and it will inevitably snap you back into place with equal force. While never directly mentioned, this theory is put into practice by the Grey Witch when she gambles with her pawns in the latter half of the series. While the dust is settling after a great battle, the thief Woodchuck has this excellent monologue in which he deliberates on fate, saying, "The nameless are like dust. No one shall come to lay flowers by their graves, and only those who have earned their names are ever remembered." The party then looks at the corpses of hundreds of fallen men as Parn finds the body of a soldier he had a very brief encounter with. The man was wearing a good luck trinket made by his son, and we never did learn his name. The narrator proceeds to leave us with the words, "A war without meaning, a war which saved no one, but now still another battle must be fought." So I suppose the question is, if you aren't saving anyone, what are you fighting for? I think it's the answer to that question that truly defines us. What are you fighting for? For yourself, for others, for your future, your name, or simply to survive? The answer is different for each and every one of us. What are you going to be? Dust? Or will your name be remembered? Will you earn that name you were given? Or will it just be forgotten? Struggle is the only constant in life. Some people hate that, some people revel in it. Personally, I'm on the fence. I love a challenge, but I'm not impervious to a breakdown when things can get too heavy to carry. And while I do like struggle, I like to impose them on myself rather than have them imposed by expectations from outside sources. However, I can't deny that it is my intent to be remembered. But what about you? What's your plan? What's your goal? You're gonna have to let me know in the comments below. The Record of the Lodoss War isn't just important as a great story, but also as a piece of anime and Japanese pop art history. It's awesome to see how far the designs that the show created have seeped into popular media that we still receive from the island. Like, even as far as The Legend of Zelda with Link's fucking long ass ears. It's certainly worth your time to put into your otaku catalog if nothing else. And if you make it all the way through, you are rewarded with one single anime titty. And speaking of anime titties, it is time to shout out our ultimate lucky patron of the week. This time we got GameTime.Chills. Bro, thank you. The Patreon support that we've gotten in the last month has been absolutely fantastic. We got some good things coming in the future, so definitely make sure that you check out the next video. Now all you gotta do is make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in future content. Check us out on social media, Twitter, Instagram, bonsai_pop. And other than that, my name is Mike. Check out our other videos. This is Bonsai Pop, and I'll see you next week. Bye.